1. Check and make sure everything's working correctly and all the connections are working fine before we go fully live here. All right, it looks like transmissions are starting. Our X channel is good. Our Chatham Journal, the Facebook's good. YouTube's good. The only thing is I've got to get this. One of the channels is not connecting right. Oh, great. Plus, no worries. We'll just repost there. Yeah, we can go. Let's see here. Apologize for the delay. We're just trying to make sure everything's working fine here, and that's all right. We've got to save it. And here we go. Okay, folks, Gene Galin here with the Chatham Journal. I've got Ashibo Rojas of the Chatham News and Record. Thanks for joining us this Friday afternoon. We did not do a sports roundup live stream yesterday. Why? Because Ashibo and I were at the 2A basketball regional championships in Winston-Salem. We had 2 teams playing. If you see there the agenda, one team didn't fare so well. One team is playing in the championship game on Saturday. Also going to touch on the fact we had the first volleyball game in Chatham County between the boys volleyball game between 2 Chatham County teams. Shibo's also going to touch, there's been some conference awards that have gone out this week, so he's going to touch on that as well. Of course, the paper came out yesterday, Chatham News and Record newspaper. Shibo's going to talk about what's going on there. And he's also, as everyone's favorite athlete of the week, we'll let you know that spring sports are kicking off or have kicked off. So we'll be talking about softball, soccer, baseball, lacrosse, track, and field. So let me get this out of here and bring Ashibo on. All right, Ashibo, yesterday you and I were in Winston-Salem you were covering the game. I was taking pictures of Seaforth playing against Southeast Alamance, and then Northwood played against, was it West Bladen?
Yeah, West Bladen.
West Bladen. And so, folks, Ashibo will give you the rundown because I will have pictures up later on this weekend. Have not had an opportunity to really post those, but Ashibo, why don't you give us a rundown as to what happened yesterday?
Yeah, so starting with Seaforth and Southeast Alamance. I was the 4th meeting between the 2 conference foes this season. They met 3 times, twice in the regular season. And of course, Seaforth won the first time. Southeast Alamance got them the second time at Seaforth. And then Seaforth got the final say before the playoffs in the conference tournament championship. Of course, we know the 2 teams tied atop of the Mid-Carolina 1A-2A standings. So this was, we talked to Southeast Alamance players after the game. This was kind of like the get even, or, they said the tiebreaker here because it mattered the most last night. And 48-45, back and forth game. Seaforth actually had an 8-point lead in the 3rd quarter. After I think they were down 1 at halftime, came out and Katie Leonard exploded with 11 third quarter points. She hit, I think, 3 threes in that quarter. And at that point, it looked like Seaforth was going to get in control, but Southeast Alamance made an adjustment, switched to man coverage on Seaforth, and they pretty much made a run at the end of the 3rd quarter. And then, of course, as things got real tight in that 4th quarter, Seaforth just couldn't hit the necessary shots at the end of the game. Southeast Alamance did, and they ended up getting the big win over the Hawks. So very tough loss for Seaforth. We talked to them after the game, a lot of emotions shared at the podium, but it was a hard loss, to watch for Seaforth. They've been there 3 straight times in the Final Four, got to the state championship 2 years ago, and talking to them before the season, I mean, they were really hungry to finish the job and get the ring this year, but just fell short. And talking to Coach Bird, just like we said, just missed some key shots in that game. Because I feel like Seaforth, they didn't really play, terribly in that game at all. I mean, they like we said, they had some points where they took control of the game and gave Southeast, all they had. So, and props to Southeast Alamance, great team all year. The only team to really give Seaforth a challenge like that all season. So, they just got the final say this time, and were the better team when it mattered last night.
Yeah, and the thing is, in the after the game, the Southeast Alamance coach actually mentioned that they had planned appropriately to try to shut down Gabby White, and to a certain extent, I think they were successful. Is that the way you saw? I mean, what did you see as what did South? And again, they played 3 previous times. What did you see that Southeast Alamance did this time that let them come out victorious?
Yeah, Southeast, like we said, one of the biggest things was switching to man, matching up against Seaforth, and that really allowed them to use that pressure. Shania Paler, Ariana Johnson, who comes in off the bench and provides a great energy, allowed them to just play up and in the face Gabby, Katie Leonard, kind of run them off the 3-point line, which for the most part they did a pretty good job of, and they actually forced Gabby to shoot a lot of threes because we know Gabby likes to attack, she likes to go downhill. She likes to get to the paint and get fouled or finish strong. But, you got Clara LaChapelle from Southeast Alamance down low, who's really good at shot contesting and getting blocked shots. And I think that affected them as well. As watching the game, I mean, just that presence in the paint with LaChapelle and some of their other forwards, I mean, really just kind of, I feel like it inhibited Seaforth's overall ability to just get inside like they want to, because we saw throughout the playoffs, right? Driving and kicking. That's pretty much what Coach Bird and his girls like to do, is drive, track the defense, kick out to the shooters. And when they have open looks with Mia, Peyton, or Katie, not a lot of open looks in this one, but when they did get them, they just didn't fall. And it was kind of like the last year when they played North Pitt in this round. Just getting a new arena, a new environment, and the shots just don't fall like you would hope. So the difference was just forcing Seaforth into those 3-point shots, especially Gabby White, which isn't totally her strong suit, even though she can knock them down. But it's not always a shot she wants to get, and not always a shot Seaforth wants to take in some of those situations. So yeah, I think that's kind of how Southeast wanted to do. Just force Seaforth into tough shots and not let them, get going on the inside and set up those looks on the outside when they're usually wide open.
Yeah, let me ask you another question. We were talking about 3-point shots, and I noticed, I think it was both Mia and Peyton, when they were shooting from the corners, they were either overshooting the basket or undershooting the basket. So I don't know, maybe it was just harder to gauge because that arena is dark compared to most high school arenas. Did you see that as well?
Yeah, it's a big change. And I was talking to Bob, our other reporter that helps out at Randolph, and he was watching Southeast Alamance, and we talked about it. Yeah, you go from a high school gym where you got the walls right in front of you, the stands are right behind you, and of course, the goal isn't stand alone. It's hanging from the ceiling. It's a totally different environment. Of course, the stakes of the game. So it's kind of expected to take a little bit to hit some shots. I think even Southeast Alamance in this game only shot 8. Well, they shot 4 from 10 from 3-point land, 16 out of 44 shots overall. So I mean, it was a grind out game, both sides. A lot of physical play from both teams, and yeah, like we said, they just had to play through some of the misses. Southeast did get some big threes. Natalie Lopez hit the 3 to go ahead at the end of the fourth quarter. And give them that 48, I think 40 I think it was 48-45 or 48-42 lead, not mistaken. And that pretty much sealed the deal there at the end. So yeah, I do think being in the new arena did affect some of the shots, really from both sides.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I haven't seen championship games both at Reynolds, and Reynolds is probably one of my favorite places to see championship games. And it's also a place where Chatham County teams have been successful at winning championships. Also, Dean Smith Center, the bottom will fill up, but it's not as dark, so that backboard doesn't seem to float, for lack of a better term. Those are my personal preferences, but again, I'm not sure. They have just figured out, I guess, North Carolina High School Athletic Association has figured out that Winston-Salem is where they may want to continue to do this, because after the COVID and during COVID, when they were doing this at smaller arenas, those places would sometimes fill up and they would not be able to fit everybody in that they wanted to. All right. However, on the boys' side, Northwood played West Bladen yesterday. Why don't we get into that? Because talk about the game and then talk about the strategy that Coach Brown incorporated to win that game.
Yes, Northwood won that one big, 57-38 last night. And yeah, we talked to Coach Brown after the game, and he said the biggest thing they wanted to do was not let Jackson Pate, standout guard for West Bladen, and Chase Williams, the big guy down low, who's a Citadel commit, just get going and beat them. And they perfectly executed that plan. Jackson Pate didn't score at all in this game, 0 for 6 from 3. They just pretty much ran him off the three-point line, great contest. Made sure he couldn't knock anything down. And then one of the biggest stories from this game, even though Cam Fowler came out, had 19 points, as aggressive as he always is. And just another consistently well-rounded performance from him. But Chad Graves coming into that game with the big assignment of having to contest shots from Chase Williams and kind of stop him. He did a really good job. I think Chase Williams still has 16. But it was kind of, later in the game where he got most of his points. He wasn't too effective in that first half when Northwood was building their lead. And he did it all without fouling. I think he only had one foul in this game. And Coach Brown said that was the emphasis because, to have a guy like that, Chad, 6'9", in the game, affecting shots the way he did. And then he also did it on the offensive end as well. Just strong rebounding, putbacks, finishing strong. He had 2 dunks in this game. He was just, a beast down low for Northwood, and it really paid off. And just props to Northwood defensively as well. They came in this game with, Isaiah Blair at the top of that 1-3-1, providing pressure on the ball, and just really kind of like we said in the C4 Southeast Alamance game, they forced West Bladen into some tough shots, and nothing really came easy for West Bladen in that game. And offensively, Northwood, same thing. They've been, banking on all season, just getting inside, attacking all game. I think they were 58%, I think, in this game from the field. Let me check. Yep, 56.8. They had 32 points in the paint to West Bladen's 20. So just completely dominating the paint there. And, of course, that set up opportunities on the outside for a couple of triples. Contributions from Josiah Brown. He had 2 threes, and then of course he had the 4-point play that was called back because he did kick his leg out and he got a foul on that one. But he had a big game as well, and it got to a point where at the end of that game, they got even looser, more comfortable with the lead, throwing alley-oops and having fun in that game. Just a great team win for Northwood, like we say all the time. Great overall team win because not only did Cam have 19, Isaiah Blair had 14. Chad Graves had not Chad Graves, but Harvey had 6 in that game. Of course, Josiah Brown also had 6. So contributions from multiple players in that one from Northwood.
Yeah, I thought the starting 5 played the way they usually did. And I think the nice touch, as you mentioned, Josiah Brown just came in there, and I asked Coach Brown about that afterwards. That I think sometimes teams underestimate him because of his size, and he says they're not going to underestimate him now because you and I have seen him go in there, and when he finds his spot, and we've asked him this before, he gets into the zone. He's deadly from the 3-point line, and that's where he came in and was able to add into it. Isaiah, the team played well as a team. I think there was one time there were a couple of passes that went out of bounds without anybody touching it, and I think Coach Brown took off his jacket. Some people may say he ripped off his jacket, but that's kind of extreme where he was just frustrated with it. But it seemed that they got their stuff together by the end of the game. They've got to play Reedsville on Saturday, and that game's at 7:35. And I think one of the reasons for that is because Reedsville is expected to bring in a big crowd. What are you seeing? What's the challenges going to be for Northwood? What do you see going into that game on Saturday against Reedsville?
Yeah, so Reedsville, of course, has a big 3 with Kendra Harrison down low, Janiyah Sharp, and Deontay Neal at the guard positions. They also got Christian Scales, 6'8" wing, who can shoot threes. He can rebound well, and he can block some shots down low. So it's going to be a battle, on all fronts for Northwood, both at the guard and forward positions. So I'm sure they're hoping to get a big game out of Chad Graves, of course, and also some big contributions from Isaiah Blair on the defensive end. Like I said, guarding those shifty, crafty guards, and Deontay Neal and Janiyah Sharp as well. So it's going to be probably Northwood's biggest challenge this season. Of course, we know Reedsville is pretty much the king of 2A right now. 59 straight wins, I think. 85-1 in the last 3 years, especially with that core. So Northwood, I mean, they have their hands full, but they actually, some of the players that were here last year, they got a taste of this Reedsville team a little bit last year when they played in the John Wall Invitational in the championship game for their bracket. Of course, Drake Powell was in that game. I think him and Cam both had 16 points. So they have a little bit of experience against this team that they can draw back on. And, ask Cam about that. He said, they do want to get their get back in this game for that one. And, of course, that one, like we said, came the championship game in the John Wall Invitational. This one is coming in the state championship game here on the overall state level. So I think the biggest thing, of course, for Northwood will be we're trying their best to contain Kendra Harrison. He had 26 points. I think he had a double-double in their game against Bandies as well. I mean, he's just a dominant force down low. They're going to need another big performance from Chad Graves. Just keep his hands up, jump straight up, contest some of those shots and make it hard for Kendra. And I think if they can limit him and force, their guards, Deontay Neal, Janiyah Sharp, to hit some shots, I think, Northwood could have a chance to stick around this game, make it close at the end, and try to steal it here at the end. I think Northwood can compete with this team. I think a lot of people think Reedsville's going to come in here and just roll everybody in 2A. And of course, they deserve that respect for what they've done the past, not just this season, but the past couple of seasons. A great program at Reedsville over the years. So, like I said, I think Northwood has a chance, and a lot of people might not be high on them, but if you watch Northwood, they play as a team. Like you said, Gene, they play really good as a team. And, of course, they got Cam Fowler, who's the one guy they can go to if they need a bucket, which he's shown just all throughout the season in those big games they played, from the Christmas tournaments, New Year's tournaments, all the way up to now.
Yeah, Cam's not afraid to go in there and get bumped around a little bit. I would agree with you. This is going to be a challenge for Northwood. Again, they're going to have to play as a team, and they're going to have to play 100%. I will also add, I'm going to try to bring this up, the nice thing also about yesterday's game is the number of Northwood students that showed up for that game. I'm going to try to pull this up, because one of the things that after they got your trophy and they've got the thing, I'm not sure, it was a diagram showing that they made it to the final game. They went over and hung out with the students, and for some reason it's not coming up, but let me try this again. You'll find pictures out there. Both Northwood's Facebook page has the picture out there, and there it goes. Okay, right there. That was the student section. They called it a whiteout game, so they all came dressed out in white, and the guys in the front row, actually each one of them wore a T-shirt that spelled out Northwood, and there's the team with the student section, and there's the it's not a poster board, but a diagram of them making it this far, and they're going to be playing against Reedsville on Saturday. And then let me also get a shot of in the locker room. Let me go here. The neat thing about high school teams when they get to play in the state championships is they usually get to play at some college, and one of the things they get to do when they play in some college is get into the college players' locker room, and there they are in the Wake Forest Demon Deacons locker room after the game. So congratulations to the team. The game is on Saturday, Northwood versus Reedsville at 7:35. And I think that's kind of going to wrap up that portion of it. However, there's also been some conference awards that have gone out. So let me take that out, and then we'll hand this back over to Shibo. Shibo, tell us about some of the Chatham County folks that have won conference awards.
Well, not conference, but all district from North Carolina Basketball Coaches Association. They released the all district teams on Wednesday, and of course, Chatham County's in District 4. So we got some big honors from the county. Gabby White on the girls' side, she made the first team for District 4, and she was named the district's Girls Player of the Year. So congrats to Gabby on a great season, and also a great career at Seaforth, and ended it that way with that big accomplishment. And I'm willing to bet she'll also get some all-state honors too in the next when they release those after the state playoffs and finish up this weekend. And then Katie Leonard, also from Seaforth, she made the third team for her great year, playing alongside Gabby and being that other elite scorer from three, just a deep threat all season. Like we said, just had the ability to explode whenever she could get hot. 11 points in that third quarter, and did the same thing in that East Duplin game as well. Came out and pretty much put the game away for Seaforth. So their 1-2 punch gets some all district honors. And then on the boys' side, Cam Fowler from Northwood made the first team as well. And then on the second team, we had Reed Albright from Chatham Central and Bo Harvey also from Northwood on the second team. So was that 5 of our athletes earned all district honors. And like I said, I'm sure we'll have a couple make all-state in a couple weeks.
Let me ask you this. I think they have the voting, and I misspoke when I said conference, but I do think there are going to be conference awards coming out, and those, if I'm not mistaken, will be released after this weekend. So we'll see who's in that 1A, 2A conference awards category. I've heard some rumors, but again, they're not good enough rumors to mention right now. But I'm sure let's put it this way, when those awards come out, there will be Chatham County folks on that list. All right. Paper came out yesterday. Shibo, you want to go into what you've got that's running in the paper? And folks, the paper did come out. You can either subscribe or pick up a copy locally in Chatham County. So Shibo, give us a rundown of the stories you've got in this week's Chatham News and Record.
Yeah, so this week's Chatham News and Record, we got a mix of everything. Of course, we have our spring sports roundup with some of last week's scores and biggest games from, of course, all of our spring sports: baseball, softball, lacrosse, track, boys golf, and all of those sports. We have a story on the new conferences set for Chatham County schools after the conferences have been approved by the NCHSAA. So now they're going to go into the next step of the realignment plan, figuring out how they're going to do playoffs and the postseasons. And of course, coming up with plans for how they're going to host those playoffs and postseasons and how they're going to play in arenas and things like that. So you can read more about the final conferences. Actually, I could just run down the conferences, not too different from that third draft. So we got 4 separate conferences in the county: Chatham Charter and Woods Charter. They're both in that 1A Conference 3 alongside Ascend Leadership, Central Carolina Academy, Clever Garden, and River Mill and Southern Wake. And like we said, not too different from the current Central Tar Heel 1A Conference there. And now, except Central Carolina and Triangle Math and Science. Central Carolina replaced Triangle Math and Science, which is now in a different conference. And then Chatham Central, they're the only Chatham school, and they're 1A, 2A conference, but this time it's a majority 1A. Alongside College Prep and Leadership, North Stokes, South Davidson, Winston-Salem Prep, Bishop McGinnis, which is 2A, and South Stokes is also 2A. And then Jordan Matthews and Northwood are still together, placing the 3A, 4A conference alongside Eastern Randolph, Northmore, Southwestern Randolph, and URA Charter. And then our last school, Seaforth, they're once again the only Chatham County school in their 4A, 5A conference. It's all 5A schools except Carborough, which is 4A, and then the other ones are Cedar Ridge, Durham School of the Arts, Orange, South Granville, and Webb. So those are the final conferences for Chatham schools, so you can read more about that. We also have a story on Chatham Central and Jordan Matthews. They played their baseball series last week, and Chatham Central got the sweep for their first 2 wins of the season. You can read more about those games in the paper. And then, of course, we have our stories from the 4th round games and Chatham Central's third round game too as well from last week's playoffs in basketball. So you can read more about what happened and how those teams ended up in Winston-Salem this week. And then final story in the paper, we have two local seniors ended their basketball careers with significant scoring milestones. We had Brendan LaVille at Chatham Charter ending his career at exactly 1,000 points in that second round loss to Washington County 2 weeks ago. And you can read more about his process of getting back healthy after breaking his leg last season and still achieving that goal of 1,000 points to end his high school career. And then Chatham Central's Reed Albright hit 2,000 career points. He finishes as the program's second leading scorer for boys basketball. And you can read more about how he found out he hit 2,000 points and just what that accomplishment meant to him as well in that same story. So that's what we have in the paper this week.
Yeah, I know Reed's mom was really proud of the fact that he hit that 2,000. I think, as you mentioned in the story, they had missed they missed several points from a couple games that got covered in there. So that was good to know. Before we go into Athlete of the Week, just want to let folks know the first boys volleyball game between two Chatham County teams happened this week at Seaforth. It was Seaforth versus JM. JM played last year. Did you do a story on them last year in the paper?
Yes, I did, because Jordan Matthews was the first. I think they were the first boys volleyball team in the county starting last year. They played, other teams around the area. But, yeah, now we have Seaforth joining them in the county as well.
Yeah, Seaforth won that game 3-0. It was competitive. I did some video of that game. I'm gonna take out a clip because one of the things I think you mentioned in the story is that Jordan Matthews got some of the soccer players playing boys volleyball, and it was interesting because on one of the returns, one of the players kicked the ball and it went over the net, and I'm like, okay, that's I guess legal. So it was just funny and it was a little bit unexpected. So I also talked to one of the refs, and she mentioned that there are colleges that are looking for good men's volleyball players. So maybe the sport will pick up here in North Carolina. I don't think it is. I know it's not North Carolina High School Athletic Association sanctioned. Do you know what they need to do to be able to get to that point?
Actually, I'm not totally sure the whole process of sanctioning it. But they, like you said, there are a lot of schools. I want to say is it over 100 or near 100 in the state that are part of the North?
I think it's just below 100 for some reason, and I will not. You can fact check this. I think it's like 97 actually. So, but I may be wrong. So yeah, that sport will be picking up, and they will have more games in the future. I've got some videos up on the YouTube channel so that you'll be able to see that. So that's just letting you folks know that's another sport out there right now. Ashibo's going to get into the spring sports, but before we get into that, I always kind of emphasize this, but I do know for a fact that it is true. Ashibo, who is your
Yes, athlete of the week this week? We're back at Chatham Central softball with their pitcher, Maddie Kashmashik. She earns athlete of the week for the week of March 3rd. And just last week, she allowed just one hit in the 2 wins over Bartlett Yancey on the 4th, and then against Seaforth Friday. So they beat Bartlett Yancey 15-0. And she pitched a perfect 3 innings in that game. It only lasted 3 innings. And she struck out 8 batters, didn't allow a hit. And then against Seaforth, she struck out 11 batters and allowed just 1 in that game. So a dominant week for Maddie K and the Bears. And just in the first 4 games, I think she allowed just 6 hits, 3 runs, and had an ERA of 1. And they started the year 4-0. They did get their first loss against URA Charter this week as well. But that segues into their big game against Jordan Matthews last night. And while we were at basketball, unfortunately, we missed the first meeting between the two two top teams in the Mid-Carolina 1A, 2A conference. Of course, 2 top teams in the county between Chatham Central and JM. Chatham Central won that one 7-3. They had 5 runs in the 7th inning after entering that inning up 2-1. Back-to-back doubles and triple from Mason Smith with the double, Sally Oldham with the triple. That both brought runs in. And then they got a pop fly from Emma Burke that brought one in. And then another triple from Goldston, and a single from Maddie Kay to bring in the final runs. And then, of course, they got the big stop in the bottom of the seventh to limit Jam to I think just one more run or two more runs in the game. And they got the big win. So those teams will play again on April 16th. I'm sure by the time they play again in a month, they still will be at the top of the conference, just from what they returned last year and what they did last year. And they're bringing it back with some more highly competitive matchups in the county. So, yeah, those are big softball win in that big game yesterday for the Bears.
Quick question: are you going to be doing softball and baseball power rankings or not?
Did I do them? I don't think I did them last year. Did I?
No, you didn't.
I did it. We could always do an unofficial one. On the stream here, we could always do an unofficial baseball and softball because why not?
Yeah, let's do it because the feedback that we got from coaches and players is they didn't take it too seriously, but sometimes they used it to get themselves pumped up against opposition. And the thing is, it sounds like there's going to be a pretty heavy duty softball season this year. So, and then look, you got Maddie Kay. And Maddie, I apologize. I didn't spell out your whole name, but Maddie Kay, everybody knows who she is. So congratulations to Maddie for being a Shebo's Athlete of the Week. All right. Why don't we get into the rest of the spring sports, and we'll go right back to Shebo.
Yeah, so some other big wins in spring sports throughout the week. Looking at baseball, Chatham Charter, they just dominated Southern Wake this week with 36 runs and 2 shutouts. They beat them the first time 26-0, and then later this week 10-0. And just stellar batting performances from everyone on the team in those games. And then back in girls soccer, Seaforth got another shot at Graham, and this time did the same thing again after beating them 20-0. That first time they beat them 17-0 with behind another 8-goal performance from Sophia Viana. So 2 straight 8-goal performances from her. Caitlin Ehrman had 4. And they're just continuing their dominance already to start the season. The only 2 games of the season so far are those games against Graham. And I think tonight they'll play Apex Friendship for the 3rd game of the year. And then boys lacrosse, Seaforth got a big win over Orange, 11-6. I think that was last night, if I'm not mistaken. But in that one, Ivan Grimes led the team with 5 goals. And Seaforth has now won 4 games in a row. So Seaforth lacrosse is on a roll to start the season. And also Seaforth, their boys golf team shot a 9-hole team score record, score 141, 3 under par at the Preserve this week as well. So they were really excited about that. I think Ty Willoughby was also, let me make sure I get this right. I think he was also under par, but I'm trying to make sure it was -4. Yep, he was 4 under par. Griffin Ching and Campbell Metter both shot 2 under par as well. So great team win for the defending 2A boys golf champions, Seaforth Hawks.
All right. Anything else we need to be aware of more spring sports coming up. I have not had a chance to run out and grab pictures of it. The nice thing about daylight savings time is we do get an extra hour of sunlight in the evening, so we'll be seeing more games. And Shebo and I will be coordinating which games I'll be shooting, which games he'll be attending. But both of us, the question is, where are we going to be? Well, tomorrow it's going to be fairly simple. By that 7:35 game, we will both be in Winston-Salem. Look, I invite you folks to come out there. Student section is going to be out there. There's plenty of seating, and it's an opportunity to maybe see Northwood get a state championship. The girls have done it. Maybe it's a chance for the boys to do it. Anything else, Shebo?
Nope, I think we got it all covered.
And all right, folks, we should. I think we'll be back to our Thursday schedule. Shebo and I have also talked about inviting our spring sports coaches to join us, just like during the winter sports. We will work on that as well. Now that we're kind of pretty much after this weekend going to be fully into the spring sports arena, and we'll be reaching out and getting coaches to join us. feedback on that has been positive. And let me just also remind folks that make sure to follow Ashibo on X on at AshiboR38. He will be posting at the game on Saturday, and he also, when he's out covering an events, he'll update you. He'll get pictures, and also usually after the games, he'll have an interview with the coach and maybe one or two players. And actually, I landed up telling somebody a story that Ashibo's doing such a good job. It was after one of the Northwood football games where I think you were talking to 2 or 3 players, and that was the game that they won with a field goal, a 3-point field goal. And the kicker, I ran into him at McDonald's afterwards right there across the road, and they're like, well, why didn't Ashibo interview me? So look, folks, Ashibo's doing a great job. If he can get you, great, man. But sometimes he's just hustling and needing to get some out there. So if you see him approaching you to do a post-game interview, say definitely yes and go ahead and do it. All right. I'm going to wrap it up with that. We will see you back on next Thursday. Ashibo, anything else before we say bye?
Nope. Just once again, just want to thank you all for watching and continuing to support us, reading our content and following along our coverage. And we're excited for tomorrow. Hopefully, we get a good game with Northwood and Reedsville. And like we said, we'll have coverage on my X account. And of course, stories coming out in next week's paper from this whole weekend.
Right. And we know Reedsville folks are going to be there. So Chatham County folks, get your butts out there. All right. That's it. Bye.